The images we selected take us through generations of various clothing items and how they have changed across time. This is extremely important to students because clothing is something everyone uses on a daily basis, and it has a way of representing certain time periods and cultures. Knowing about clothing is helpful in becoming an informed citizen because it dictates what is appropriate to wear in certain situations. Not only for professional work reasons or religious beliefs, but more so, what is acceptable to wear in your everyday casual life for the title you hold in society. A modern-day example of this could be the difference between wearing sports athletic wear at the gym as opposed to a business professional outfit or suit while at work. As we continue to walk through history using the artifacts of clothing, remember that these are all representations of Michigan trends over 3 separate time periods.
The artifacts chosen to represent this time period were war uniforms and women's clothing for bike riding. In the late 1800s, clothing was still a representation of class and prestige. However, as social circumstances shifted with the Civil War and women engaging in activities outside of a domestic lifestyle, clothing fashion shifted as well. Lots of men in this period wore their army uniforms, which were depictions of their ranking and their allegiance to either the North or the South. As a result of bike riding, women began to wear shorter skirts or divided skirts to make bike riding more comfortable, despite the fact that this fashion had not yet gained social acceptance.
The Roaring Twenties. The 1920s fashion trends were the shorter, low-waisted dresses and revealing styles worn by the flappers, the bobbed hairstyles, cloche hats, the casual haphazard fashion of a mixture of brightly colored clothes, scarves and stockings with bold, striking, Art Deco geometric designs of the era. Another fashion trend was the flat-chested, boyish look, and women actually wore men's clothing. The artifacts we found were women and men both wearing dress coats and hats, and we believe this is to show the sophistication of women. Why do you think men and women may dress alike in this time period? We believe it is because women gained gender equality in the time period, and they want to show how women are just as good and just as important as men are.
The 1960s was a period of drastic change for fashion. The beginning of the decade was filled with elegant styles that were modeled after First Lady Jackie Kennedy, whereas the second half of the decade was about pushing boundaries. Skirt lengths were much shorter and inspired by childlike dresses during the second half. This idea of a shorter childlike dress can be seen in the artifact of the pink dress, whereas the pearls, gloves, and heels that accompany it mirror the elegant scene in the early 60s. The Vietnam War took place during this time period, which is reflected in the war uniforms shown for both men and women. How do these Vietnam uniforms differ from the ones worn during the Civil War? These uniforms differ from the previously shown ones in that they are made out of a lighter material and are more tailored to the body, making them more comfortable to wear during battle.
The journey through Michigan clothing trends is a never-ending phenomenon. The topic of clothing is always evolving and adapting to the lives of the people living in them. The artifacts chosen to represent these trends are all important to Michigan because it reflects the lives of the people during those time periods. We are able to get a glimpse into the past and have a better vision of how things were for many of our ancestors. Unfortunately, during our experience at the museum, we were unable to locate many artifacts relating to children's clothing. Our next step beyond this assignment would be to venture out and to find and examine different artifacts that do indeed represent how children dressed in Michigan. The final note to remember while admiring the outfit choices of our past and current generations is, clothing is constantly changing and evolving to represent something that is taking place during the moments people wear them.